Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Mark Leibovit, editor and publisher of the Leibovit VR newsletters, also known as VRTrader.com. He was the #1 U.S. stock market timer in the January 2020 edition of Timer Digest. He's speaking to us from Arizona. Welcome back to the show, Mark.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Jim.
Mark, do we still have a special offer for our listeners?
Yes, I'm still offering 50% off on any of our subscriptions if you use the promo code and insert that on the order form where it asks for a promo code. And we have a series of letters at vrtrader.com, so whichever letter you pick, that code applies to. And the code is 2020 half off, 2020 HALFOFF. Obviously, when 2021 rolls around, we're going to have to decide whether we're offering the promo code, and obviously we're going to have to change the name of it. But so far, at least to the end of the year, it's 2020 half off. Thank you for mentioning it.
Yeah, that won't be until next year. Nothing to worry about.
A couple weeks.
Now, the Dow has finally hit 30,000 points. Is it going to continue skyward, or is it going to take a pause or even a big dip?
Okay, well, I'm more in the the big dip category, but the market's being held up a little bit because of seasonality this time of year. Normally, you are positive this time of year, and then you've got Tesla going into the S&P 500 almost at any day, and that's going to help the S&P, and I guess psychologically help the Dow as well. So, the powers that be, are trying to keep the market up here, and I guess that's good reason with the Santa Claus rally effect and, again, the seasonality. But, my work sort of, warned that you can get a change of direction here in December, and some surprises could be coming out of the blue. For example, we have this planetary alignment of Saturn and Jupiter. This has nothing to do with astrology. This is astronomy. First time in 800 years, coming up on December 21st, which is also the winter solstice. And it'd be interesting to see if that has any effect on maybe not necessarily the markets, but maybe geocosmics here on Earth themselves. I sort of toy with that concept. So if that does, you might see some activity, whether it's earthquake or volcanic activity here. This is just speculation on my part after doing a lot of reading about what the possibilities, if any, may be. So that should be sort of interesting. But normally in my work, you tend to get changes in the market around these seasonal periods. And even though my work is based on volume and technical analysis, I try to do as many cyclical studies and correlations as I can. And, we did see a change of direction in September around the autumnal equinox, came in September 20th, and the market turned down in early September. And here we are in December, and it's, acting a bit toppy, I think, but, they're trying to hold it up. So it wouldn't surprise me out of the blue if we had, a sell-off here into the end of the year. I know not everybody's expecting it, but, could well happen. And, we are way extended in the market. So when you ask the question, could we stay up and stay over 30,000? Sure, anything is possible. The market has broken just about every rule this year with the huge sell-off in March and its ability to so dramatically recover. Of course, there's many who believe that the correction that came in March and February, March was no great surprise. In fact, I had predicted a correction into March in late January, early February, saying we can get a big sell-off, not to the extent that we saw, but I saw something coming, and there's been all these reports of corporate insiders having resigned in 2019, and a lot of expectations that there's something coming, so to speak. And, there were sales of stock, supposedly, on the part of a lot of smart people before the big sell-off in March. So the events that all have unfolded here, were no accident, and I sort of held that position up to this moment, particularly with regard to the virus and all the events that have unfolded since. So I'm I am a skeptic, and so I guess that's why I sort of consider myself a survivor in the markets, because what you hear in the news is not necessarily the truth. And unfortunately, a lot of the news that is happening around the world, both economically, politically, socially, is not even reported. So you have to do a lot of digging and try to figure out things on your own. But as a general rule, when it comes down to following the markets, Jim, it's a question of putting together the technical picture, the cyclical picture, a little bit of contrary thinking, and so forth. So bottom line for me is I'm sort of out of the market here. We're trading a couple individual stocks. A couple of things we just added the last couple of days are gun stocks, which we think are that might have corrected nicely and maybe creating a little bit of a bottom here. And I'm operating under the premise that might be some social unrest coming here in the weeks ahead, and we'll see if I'm correct there or not. And the gold market has been disappointing the last few days for a lot of the gold bulls, and I've been a little cautious on the gold stocks here for the last several months, though we do have a metals resource letter, and to accommodate everyone who loves the gold and silver market, we do keep some core positions in there. But my gut feeling was this was not a market that you really want to be in until there was a confirmed bottom. So, I'm watching that carefully. If that gives us some sign of a turn, I had mentioned in a previous interview that maybe we see a low in the gold market by mid-December. And, of course, we saw gold sell off to about 1760 within the last week or so, and maybe that was it. We're retesting that now. And if we could reverse back out of here, maybe we can stage a rally into the first quarter of next year. If you do have the Chinese New Year and you do have positive seasonality coming into February period, so we'll see if that all plays out. So as a trader, I'm keeping an eye on the golds to see if there's another nice trade here. Though, as I said a moment ago, we are holding some positions, but I'm not too happy the way they're performing here. So bottom line is, depends which market you're looking at, but the overall stock market, I'm sort of out of the market here and waiting for and expecting a correction.
And for people who are interested in the possible influence of planets on the markets, we have an extensive interview with a friend of yours, Ray Merriman, from Merriman Market Analyst, coming up on This Week in Money this weekend.
Yeah, Ray's a good friend for many years, and he definitely knows that piece of analysis. He's a specialist in all that kind of good stuff, and I would say in his defense that there's a lot of things we don't understand, including, the movement of the planets and the moon and geocosmics here on the Earth that are not really discussed or incorporated in Wall Street's analysis. But having been around several decades and having met many people that do that kind of work, there's definitely correlations there, and you really can't ignore them. And then in my own experience, as I mentioned in some previous interviews, watching the cycles of the moon, for example, have strong correlations sometimes on a short and near-term basis with highs and lows in the market. But you'd have to rely on someone like Ray, who's doing the bigger picture stuff and really gets into the really gory details, so to speak, of what's going on outside of the Earth's atmosphere.
We'll have more with Mark Leibovit right after this.
Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon. Trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlin, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Mark Leibovit. Mark, the U.S. dollar is at the lowest it's been since early 2018. What do you see ahead for the U.S. buck?
Okay, well, it's down there, and the fundamentals say that if we get a new round of government intervention and social support here, spending money to support people that aren't working and helping them because of the COVID thing, that would continue to put pressure on the dollar, weakening us, so to speak. I'm really not in it right now, but I keep saying that it looks awfully oversold to me, and there's just too many bears around, and huge rally could unfold here. So we're watching it technically. Too many bears in it. It's down a lot, and a big rally could unfold here. But so far, the bears seem to be in control. So I'm watching it. A little skeptical that it's down here and staying down here. But it's interesting that it has been weak, and even so, the gold market and the precious metal, silver as well, have not performed. Though other metals have done very well, like the platinum, palladium, and lithium, and copper, and a lot of other nickel and other areas have done well, mainly because of it, I guess, infrastructure or anticipated infrastructure expenditures and growth. But the correlation with the dollar and the gold certainly hasn't helped gold here in the last several weeks. So it shows you can't really tie two markets together. You really have to analyze them independently. And basically, since the August-September highs, and the gold shares have definitely been underperforming, and many are scratching their heads why, when supposedly things are really bad and they should be going up. So many people thought it was tied to the vaccine, COVID situation, and once it became obvious that some remedy or proposed remedy to the virus was coming, that was less reason to be in gold. But I never really accepted that thinking. I mean, what's gold have to do with the virus? I mean, it has to do with monetary considerations and the stability of governments and currency and all other kind of factors. But take it for what it is. Right now, we're watching the dollar, seeing if it shows any, confirmation of a bottom. If that really took off, you would think that, particularly with the sentiment tied to against the gold market, it would hurt gold even more. But we'll just have to wait and see if it all plays out. Right now, just watching both markets, anticipating or hoping for some type of low here in gold for a seasonal bounce, and watching the dollar to see if it confirms some type of low just at a time when everybody's bearish on it.
We'll have more with Mark Leibovit right after the break.
Value from success, growth, and discovery. Golden Arrow Resources is a well-funded gold-copper exploration company with proven management and prospective properties in Chile, Argentina, and Paraguay. Golden Arrow trades on the Toronto Venture Exchange, symbol GRG, on Frankfurt, symbol G6A, and the OTCQB, symbol GARWF. For more information, visit us at goldenarrowresources.com or call Sean at 778-686-0135.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Mark Leibovit. Mark, there's always something special that catches your eye. What's caught your eye this week?
Oh, gee, it's been a wild week. There's just so many high-flying stocks, particularly in the SPAC area. The financing that's come through with these companies, and the special purpose investment vehicles. It's just been, just a lot of activity there. Some really wild moves in some stocks, but in terms of, participating in them, we've just been more sort of watching rather than jumping on board. There was, one stock, if I could pull it up here on the screen while we're doing the interview, GLSI, I believe is the symbol. They came out with some cure for, I think it was for breast cancer, and this thing went from, 12 or 15 to 158. I think it was yesterday, sold all the way back down to $50 and $60, and then I think today it took off again. I'm trying to pull it up here while we're watching it. I mean, it's just astounding the kind of speculation and volatility that's coming into some of these. Yeah, so this stock was up Round it off, it got to 128 intraday today, low 67. It was, like I say, in the teens yesterday, got up to 150, 60, came all the way back to 60, and then today up to 128. So it's called Greenwich Life Sciences, and they apparently came out with some type of cure. But these type of moves, to me, are more indicative of a market blow-off phase, when you get this type of, and this is just one of many that sort of hit our screens here. And I guess if you're adept enough to jump in on some of these big pullbacks, you can trade these babies. So that's been, part of the action of this past week. Many of these special situation type stocks. And then, of course, everybody's eyeing Tesla. They're joining, as I mentioned earlier, they're supposed to be joining the S&P. And, I've been a big bull on the stock here all year. When it was back around $400 to $600 a share, I'd sort of predicted, I guess. People give me a lot of credit because I did make that announcement that it might go to 2,000-3,000, which it did, and now the stock is around 600. It looks like it's headed to the mid-700s to me. Whether it comes around this joining of the S&P or does that at some later point, that's still very much in play. Of course, we heard this week that Elon was going to be leaving California and moving out to Texas, which I thought was sort of interesting. So a lot of action, in that area. And, those are sort of the highlights this week. So many of the cannabis stocks that I've talked about sort of petered out here. I think they had their run for a while. The solar stocks, which we have liked for a couple of years, I don't want to say are done, but they sort of petered out here a little bit too in terms of their short-term momentum, though I think big picture there's still some great opportunities there. And that's sort of it at the moment. I think we covered gold in the overall market a moment ago. So we have individual trades that we do every day at VR Trader. We try to find something that looks interesting that might be tradable. Kodak, for example, came out with a big story. Remember a couple months back that they had achieved funding to produce pharmaceuticals in the U.S. and they ran into a bit of a scandal, and the stock ran from $2 to about $60. It came all the way back down to $5 and ran up this past week. And it looks like it might be bottoming out here. So that's one of the recommendations we have in our list. So you can see it's like special situation type stuff we're sort of focusing in right now. I really don't want to be broadly invested in the market here, owning all the indexes, even though I guess one could argue the bulls are right and I shouldn't be fighting the tape. I think it's way overdone, and there are some, also political risks as well. Everyone's convinced that Biden will be the next president of the United States, and maybe they will be right, but there are challenges going on, and I haven't discounted the fact that Trump could still succeed at the Supreme Court or some other method to retain the presidency. We'll find out if that happens or not. And if that does, I think that could create a lot of social unrest, and maybe our play in the gun stocks will really take off if that unfolds. So a lot of interesting things unfolding here, Jim. We just watch it day to day, and this stuff pops up. So that's what really VR Trader is all about.
Mark, could you remind our listeners once again about your special offer?
Yeah, sure. At vrtrader.com. Again, we have a bunch of letters, our cannabis letter, our metal resource letter, our platinum letter, and so forth. And if you go to the order page and you enter the promo code 2020 half off, you can get 50% off of any of the letters for any time frame that you specify.
Mark, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Jim.
My guest has been Mark Leibovit, editor and publisher of the Leibovit VR newsletters, also known as VRTrader.com. If you have any questions for Mark or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@HowStreet.com. Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Find us on Twitter @HowStreet. We're also on Facebook. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.